Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we're here for the start of our F2 22 career mode. Yes, of course, I mentioned it in Monday's video. If you missed out on that one, I would highly recommend going back and checking out where we jumped in with the all-new F2 cars. But today, we are finally going to be jumping in. Of course, I've done career modes on F1 2019, F1 2020, F1 2021, all in the F2 cars before. They have been some of the most fun series I think I've ever done, and today it returns once more there. So yes, of course, as you can probably tell by the title, we won't be racing as a Prema driver for the first time in this series. We are going to be rocking as Theo Porcher. 28 races this calendar is going to be. Of course, Saturdays and Sundays for about the next 3 to 4 months, if my maths hasn't failed me there. We start out in the desert in Bahrain, we then head across to Saudi Arabia, we're then back in Europe, Imola, Spain, Monaco, Azerbaijan, Silverstone, Austria, France and Hungary before the summer break. Then, of course, we return for a triple header, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, before the final race of the year takes us back out to Abu Dhabi. 14 brilliant racetracks. You know, maybe if you guys enjoy this series, we might do a bit of a custom one down the line where we jump in to a different style. You know, perhaps we'll race at the other 8 tracks that they don't do in the F2 Championship. But yeah, really excited to jump into this series today. Of course, for those of you that aren't aware, as well, of course, F2 has changed in 2022. Of course, last year you had 3 races per weekend. Now it's back down to the traditional 2. So we'll have qualifying in the sprint race today, and then of course the feature race will go live tomorrow. But there we go then, Theo Porcher, the young French phenom, of course, Sauber Academy driver as well. You know, got to sneak that in there as well. But in terms then of sort of assists, everything like that, we're going to be keeping things pretty normal as to how we would normally. Of course, 50% races. We'll do one-shot quali though. That is always the thing in the F2 series. I like to run one shot, of course. Probably going to be doing some sweat mode in that as well. But of course, as always, no assists, anything like that. Pretty standard rules are applying in this mini-series. So yeah, if you're ready, make sure you get yourself subscribed for more F1 22 content, or F2 2022 content, I should say, as well. And I mean, yeah, I think let's just get into it then. Bahrain GP weekend. I'm looking forward to this. Right, well here we are then, ready for the F2 qualifying session here from the Bahrain Grand Prix. Of course, for those of you that aren't aware, you get 2 bonus points when you do put it on pole in these cars. So yeah, hopefully we can try and pick up some bonus points as we go through the year. Previous games, my qualifying pace has never been particularly great in these F2 cars. We normally try and make progress up during the races, so we'll wait and see as to whether this season is going to be any different, but just trying to make our setup fairly similar to what I normally run on the F1 games. And this ART is absolutely stunning. Let's get into some sweat though and see where we can post this thing on the grid. heading out of the final corner, then we are going to be right on the cusp of the top 10 here. So difficult to try and get these cars where I want them over one lap, but I think it is 10th. And that'll mean we start our first race of the year from pole position there. Of course, sprint race, top 10 is reversed, then the feature race, the grid is set from qualifying.
And we're all set for an exciting race tomorrow. Your top 3 are Drugovic, Capure, Awassa. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the feature race tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Well, there we go then. It is reigning champion Felipe Drugovic, 2022 champion Felipe Drugovic. I guess we're trying to rewrite history in this series there. Puts it on pole ahead of Richard Verschoor and Awassa there. Jem Bollock-Bassi in at P4 ahead of our teammate Fred Vesti. Yeah, we only just took that top 10 though. 6,000ths of a second between myself and Jay Anderuvela there. So fingers crossed that's a good sign. Like I said, top 10 for the sprint race are actually reversed from qualifying, and then irrespective of what happens in today's sprint race, the grid for the feature race will be the qualifying order. So yeah, let's get into it though. My first race of F2 2022. Can we try and walk away with a win immediately? Formula 1 is finally back in 2022, and now you can rep your favourite teams. Of course, using the F1 store, every team now has merch lineups available, whether you're an Aston Martin fan, a Williams fan, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, the choice is completely up to you. But yeah, check out the F1 merch store down below for all the official releases from all of the teams. And of course, as always, if you use our links as well, you massively help support the channel. So yeah, give it a look and see if there's anything you like.
Welcome to Sakir and the Bahrain International Circuit, where the grid is forming up ready for today's race. Bahrain represents an exceptional 3.36 miles of racing. Lots of opportunities to overtake throughout its 15 corners. Now, this track has built a reputation for being brutal on the rear tyres, so keep an eye on how these young drivers manage their rubber. Strategy here could ultimately determine the winner of the race. Davide, you're a 3-time winner around here in 1 week, I believe, back in 2012. How on earth do you make the tyres last around this track? They degrade so quickly.
To be honest, the key to the race is having a good start so you can get your car into a good position. Then save the tyres as much as you can and push just at the end.
Right, well here we are then on the grid, ready for the F2 sprint race here from Sakir. Starting from the pole, we could really try and build up some confidence if I could get a good start here and a nice tidy run in towards turn 1. Of course, normally the sprint races you don't need to change tyres for. The feature race tomorrow will probably be soft to mediums. Of course, in F2 you can't pit in real life, I think, before the end of lap 6. So I think obviously in 50% races in the game it's the end of lap 3, if I remember correctly. I'm sure at some point this year that will screw me somewhere when I completely forget that is the rule. But yeah, let's get into it though. First race of the year, of course, we have got the formation lap as always to try and build some heat into the rubber. But we are joined by Yuri Vips on the front row, Callan Williams just behind, and then Lawson and Logan Sargent. Well, just making sure we're working some temperature into the tyres and brakes as we head around the final corner. Of course, yeah, the hard tyres should be pretty comfortable throughout the 12 laps of this sprint race today. But I honestly cannot describe just how excited I am to get back into an F2 career mode once more on the F1 game. So I absolutely love racing these cars. Fingers crossed this is going to be the start of, once again, another very, very fun season. We're going to try and make sure we get some heat into the rears as well. Of course, these F2 cars do sound absolutely awesome. Try and line up on the grid. Perfect launch. Or perfect, sorry, grid positioning even, I should say. But let's get into it then. F2, Bahrain, Teaport chair. This is going to be really, really good fun. Just waiting for the last couple of cars there. Roy Nassani at the rear of the field. Will I be able to launch it, or will I hit the anti-stall? That is the real question at the moment. Let's find out. Bahrain Grand Prix, waiting on those 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go. And the answer is going to be the anti-stall off the launch there. Luckily, we were able to dump the throttle and kind of half save the car there. But Yuri Vips will immediately take the lead down in towards turn 1 there. And we are just going to get boxed in as Logan Sargent in his Carlin tries to have a look around the outside there. We were in a Carlin sandwich down in turn 1 there. A Sargent straight up into P2 of this race there. We drop down to P4 behind him and Liam Lawson here, but immediately we're going to try and go on the offensive again on the young Kiwi as we head up the inside at the top of the hill there in towards turn 4, and luckily I think we might just be able to put the power down there. So down to 3rd place then off the start of this Grand Prix there, but nice to see Logan Sargent in his very first F2 race, of course rumoured still to potentially go to Williams next year at the time of recording in real life. But at the moment, we're just sat behind him there as he's up into P2 in his very first F2 race there. Yuri Vips, though, has had the dream start at the front of the field, a second clear of anyone. As well, I think that was Liam Lawson trying to look around the outside of me. Just about gathers it up there. There's Callum Williams going to try and have a look up the inside of Lawson there. They're going to be drag racing as we head down the back straight on this opening lap there. But looks like rather unlike F2 normally. Doesn't seem like we've had too much carnage off the start of this race. There are Lawson and Williams still side by side as we head back up the hill there. A lot of understeer, of course, heavy fuel in the car as well. These V6 engines are still fairly thirsty and, of course, love to spit flames as well there as we head out down in towards the final couple of turns of lap 1. Wasn't the dream start that we absolutely wanted, but could have been a whole lot worse as well. I've done a whole lot worse in these cars before, so we just get over the curbing at the final corner there. Got to be really, really careful that we don't do that all too often. Yuri Ips, though, leads the way at the end of lap 1 there. 2.2 seconds clear of myself and a second ahead of Logan Sargent. But we've got to try and settle down into a rhythm. Got to remember, of course, these hard tyres won't provide us the same sort of grip as the softs did on, well, last night, technically, Friday night qualifying, of course, all season long in the F2 series. But let's see what we can do. Just looking behind me, Lawson and Callum Williams still side by side as we're on lap 2 of this race there. But Vips and Sargent seem to be checking out at the front of the field, but Sargent seems to be quicker than Yuri Vips just in front of him. Of course, just like in Formula 1, these cars do come equipped with DRS there. And I mean, if you've never watched real life F2, I would highly recommend Abu Dhabi weekend giving it a try out, because it is brilliant fun. I've been able to watch it finally this season a bit more committed there, as I think that might be Dennis Hauger dropping to the wayside in this Grand Prix. I'm pretty certain it was a Prima car going slowly, and I think he qualified behind Jan Aruvula. Yes, it is Hauger, our first retirement of the year there, the number 1 car. Of course, F3 2021 champion Dennis Hauger out of the race as we go purple through the final sector, but still losing a bit of time to the cars in front. We are immediately in absolute no man's land. 2 seconds clear in front, 2 seconds clear behind. We could just sort of, well, I want to try and push on and close up the cars in front, but we've got a bit of breathing room. Well, we are slowly finding more and more pace there, as I think Dennis Hauger's stricken car has now been removed from the circuit. Purple in Sector 2 this time around, and we've always been strong through the final sector of the lap. Just trying to make sure these F2 cars, so different to drive than the F1 cars. You cannot force them to try, you know, if they start understeering, they're going to understeer. You can't do anything about it. There is new fastest lap of the day at 10th clear of, I think it was Logan Sargent actually that time round that set a new fastest lap of the day. We've just got to try and either get these two to start battling or try and get back within the range of Logan. It's the young American. Really wants to try and prove himself this year. He could be a very hot property if he could get to F1, of course, with their ever-expanding US market. I'm sure a lot of teams would be very interested. Of course, early on in this season, I will probably be tweaking around the AI level a little bit as we just get more and more used to these cars. There's 41-1 now. We're starting to get in the rhythm in this race. A second a lap over Liam Lawson each time round. Has got yellow flags out. Oh! Logan Sargent, the engine in that Carlin has gone up in smoke then, so our second mechanical failure of the race there, and that's going to make our life a little bit more difficult trying to close up to Yuri Vips. But Logan Sargent, after such a strong start to this race, out of the Bahrain sprint race. And of course, the real talk in F2 in real life is the Mechachrome engines and their lack of reliability. I think Teo Porcher, if I remember correctly, has been probably one of the worst victims of that in real life 2022. But Sargent out of this race there, sort of attacking the curves a little bit too much. Now it's a battle between myself and Yuri Vips for the win. But we cannot keep doing that. You light up those rears, you are immediately going to throw away time. Oh, another new fastest lap. We are flying at the moment. Got to try and get that gap, like I said, back under a second to Yuri Vips, but this could be quite close towards the end of the race. I mean, just the top three were able to break free early on. Yeah, Liam Lawson, of course, and Callum Williams now battling for the final podium place there, but 3 seconds back to Lawson behind. Yuri Vips 2 seconds in front. But we've just got to keep trying to take, you know, a few tenths out of him each lap. Try and get within the DRS range. With a couple of laps to go to give myself time to fight. Oh, look at that gap now back under 2 seconds for the first time since the opening lap of this race. We are still pushing like crazy into the 140s now of this race. They're just sneaking under.
5.3 seconds.
5.3 ahead of Fred Vesti there as well. A little bit of locking up down at turn 1. Got to remember to cadence brake in these things still as well. But yeah, the gap to Yuri Vips is still going the right way at the moment, but 6 laps to go. But over halfway into this first sprint race of the year, there is still a lot more work that needs to be done. Oh, I think we've got another car going slowly. Saw someone on the mini-map pulling off the racing line just behind there. Not too sure who it was off the top of my head. I've still got to learn who's with what colour dots there. I think it's Awasa who might be out of the race there as again another new fastest lap of the day. We are applying the pressure to Yuri Vips, and yeah, I want to say it is Ayumu Awasa who might be falling to the wayside now in this Grand Prix, and Mechachrome have desperately got to sort their stuff out. We should not have these sorts of reliability woes in a fixed, obviously competitive series, of course, with the absolute, well, it should be identical cars between each of the teams. Of course, they can all do little setup tweaks and things like that, hence why Prema usually find themselves battling right towards the very front there, but looks like we haven't got anyone retiring just yet. But yeah, one car definitely in the pits, and I think, if I had to bet, I think it's Awasa. I completely forgot as well in these F2 cars, of course. They're really, really weird. Now, for those of you that have never raced them before, it's quite difficult to explain. They're 140.4, but they kind of, the tyres go off, and then they kind of come back in again. It's really, really weird to kind of describe, but they seem to just go through a really bad phase and then actually kind of grip back up again as the fuel comes off. So 4 more laps to go with this race. You can see that point was proven by the fact Yuri Vips was able to go a couple of tenths faster than he's been able to go at any other point so far today. Momentarily take fastest lap a point away, but you can see him swinging the back end of that high-tech out at the top of the hill. But we are still dead set on trying to get back past Yuri Vips before the end of this race. The Estonian driver, of course, wrapped up in controversy throughout the entirety of the 2022 season. So yeah, I think if we could snooker away a victory from him, I don't think too many people would complain. And now we are going to be inside the DRS range for the first time today, so we should get a good idea now as to how powerful the DRS is in these F2 cars. You can already see gaining a little bit on Yuri Vips. I think they are running quite high wing angles though, actually, in comparison to a lot of the AI. So we are, that probably explains why we're fast through a lot of the twisty bits there and not really gaining as much down the straights, of course. You know, we can carry a little bit of extra corner speed off of the turns because we've got that higher wing, but yeah, it does mean by the end of the straights often we are losing a little bit to Yuri Vips here. But 3 laps to go, and I did not expect to be battling for the win in the first race of the year, but this is the magic of the sprint races, the new format for 2022. The fact that, of course, you know, sprint races have been a thing for a long, long time, and so is the reverse grid, but it does allow you just to take bigger risks because you know where you're going to be locked in, ready for the main event tomorrow. So let's just wait and see if we can try and close up on Yuri Vips there. Yumu Awasa, I'm guessing he's gone onto a set of soft compound tyres there, a 139.8. He has definitely taken away my fastest lap bonus point. I will not be seeing that again between now and the end of the afternoon, unless I got an absolute worldie of a lap time. Of course, I think it is, yeah, 2 bonus points as well, of course, in the sprint and the feature for fastest laps. And of course, the sprint race, yeah, does have a slightly reduced point system that we'll run through when we get to the checkered flag there. But round in the final couple of corners of lap 10, big double front lock up there. Somehow, we still get the tyres to bite there. A little bit of cadence braking once more. But are we going to be able to try and get a run back down towards turn 1 on Yuri Vips here? 2 more laps to go of the opening race of the year here in Bahrain. Tip the car in nice and gently through that final corner there. Big wobble as we try and put the power down off the corner. High-tech versus ART, a battle I'm sure we've seen countless times before in Formula 2. 2 of the teams right towards the sharp end of the championship there. We can't quite get close enough back down at turn 1, but we get under Yuri Vips' gearbox there as we head through the first couple of corners. Teo Porcher, an absolute phenom in these cars in real life, and hopefully we can put him to justice as we head through this career mode there, as we head back up the hill once more. They're trying to get a little bit of a later apex there to run the car off the corner. Nothing quite happening this time round, as we'll wait and see how much we can gain through this middle sector. Of course, no ground effect in these cars like the new Formula 1 cars. You definitely don't want to use that curb all too much there as we ground out the car there, and it kind of skates along the surface. No control there for a brief moment, but luckily we landed off the other side and the tyres did grip back up once more there as well. You can just see Yuri Vips struggling under pressure. Big lockup as we went through the infamous turn 9 and turn 10 here, and now we are right in the wheel tracks. So Yuri Vips with just over 1 lap to go of this race there, just sitting behind him at the moment. Couldn't quite get the run off the corner this time round, but Yuri Vips is feeling the pressure in the opening sprint race of the year as we head up the hill, getting ready to start the final lap of this first weekend here in Sakir. There, attack the curbs nicely as we head out in towards the final corner. Tyre wear warning light has just now flashed up, but I don't think we're going to worry about that all too much as Vips going to go defensive in towards the final corner there, nice and early on the brakes there. Yuri Vips tries to get the car to the apex, but we just about sneak underside him, and we're going to get the DRS as well there. And with 1 lap to go with this race, we have spent all 12 laps trying to close back up the gap to Yuri Vips in this race, but we have now taken the lead with just 1 to go here. We're going to have to keep it clean and tidy on this final lap. No big risks, no wheel spin, no lockups, anything like that, because I'm sure Yuri Vips will be ready to pounce if the opportunity opens up once again. Of course, he's now going to have the DRS on me, so that high-tech is still going to be filling our mirrors on the final lap of this GP there, as I think he tried to have a look up the inside at the top of the hill there. He seems to have dropped back quite a lot off the corner there, as you just see how much the car rattles over the curbs. So I apologise if too much of that has come through on the microphone, as now we've got a DRS failure on the final lap of this race. I don't think that's going to make much difference, but DRS now offline, so if Vips was able to get back past me, we might not be able to do anything against him in towards the final few corners of this race there. Yuri Vips trying to look round the outside there, and I think it was just a little bit too brave down at turn 9 and turn 10 there. He's dropped over a second back as we head in towards the final few corners of the opening race of the year. It was a slow burn. It built up towards the end of the afternoon there after a bad start, dropping down to P4 momentarily. We recovered back into P3 early on in the race there. Callan Williams, unlucky. Sorry, not Callan Williams. Logan Sargent even, I should say. Unlucky with getting mecha chromed quite early on still in the afternoon. But down in towards the final corner, we took P10 on the grid for the feature race. It gave us pole for the sprint. We didn't get the best start, but we've proven today we have got the pace there at the final corner. It's going to be P1 to kickstart the year for Teo Porcher. What a way to start the year.
Oh mate, great job, great job. You've done everything we wanted today. That is brilliant.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top draw to take the win for ART today. And Davide Valsecchi, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
Although the Formula 2 cars are all the same spec, the winner just looked better out there. It would have been a combination of getting those tires up to running temperature faster and driving to the condition on track. They made it look easy out there today.
An amazing race today, and a very well-deserved one too. The team worked very hard to get exactly the right setup out of the F2 car that works for them, and the results speak for themselves. ART GP winners today. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Challenge. Teo Porcher takes over the top spot in the Drivers' Championship standings following today's solid performance. And so, driver of the day then, Davide Valsecchi, who do you think you'd go for?
I have to give it to Liam Lawson. One of the best things about Formula 2 is watching these young drivers grow and mature, and it feels like his career took a big step forward today.
On to the teams then. ART moved to the top of the table. After all this drama, you'd be mad not to join us for the next race. We hope to see you then. Take care.
Well, there we are then, the end of the F2 sprint race here in Sakir, and what a way to start the year. A last lap battle with Yuri Vips, and it did come down to the wire 6/10 when we crossed the line, but we walk away victorious with the full 10 points there. Yeah, Formula 2 does run effectively the old F1 point system, 10, 8, 6, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But yeah, I forgot as well, of course, the fastest lap bonus point is always awarded. It just goes to whoever had the fastest lap inside the top 10 there. But we take home the win ahead of Yuri Vips there. Lawson in at P3, rounding out the podium for Carlin ahead of Callan Williams in at P4 there. Fred Vesti, Jem Bollock Bassi, Richard Verschoor and Jay Andaruvula will round out the points finishes there, with Drogovic, of course, starting on the pole tomorrow ahead of Ollie Caldwell in at P10 there. Jack Doohan just missed out on points there, and you can see further down the rostrum, yeah, just Sargent and Hauger not making it to the checkered flag there, and it was Awasa, of course, that had to box quite early in the race there. Yeah, I think championship-wise, though, we do lead the way. There we go then. We are leading after the opening race of the year there. Yuri Vips, of course, P2. Pretty much everyone is in the order they finished that sprint race there. But, of course, Felipe Drogovic with those 2 bonus points there still sat in at P7. Teams-wise, ART lead the way as well. 15 points on the board. We're there ahead of Carlin and Hitech, of course, Trident in P3. But 7 teams even, sorry, already on the board there. Goes to show just how close F2 can be. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will return tomorrow for the main event here from Sakhir. 16 more laps ahead of us. Let's hope we can carve our way through the grid from P10. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.